Okay, sorry. I know this is about you, but
No. This is great. I love it.
A couple Christmases ago, there was an ice storm,
Mm-hmm.
and 20% of the orchestra couldn't get back to the hall.
It was pretty close. I think it was like 24%, because at 25 you kind of call whether or not the show keeps going.
Yeah.
24. That's a lot. That's
significant.
Orchestra.
Including Christy Zuniga.
I wish we were recording this, but yeah.
Well, we are. Don't worry.
Oh, are you?
This is the intro. This is clearly the intro.
Oh, that was sneaky.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to OSA Backstage. I'm Dani Meyer, and on today's episode, Serena and I are talking with Jeff Koterba, yes, of Jeff Around Town, Cartoon, and Morning Classics fame on KVNO. Okay, first, Jeff is awesome. This conversation could have been 4 hours long. Warning, we'll have Jeff back, and the next episode might be 4 hours long. But also, Jeff has a brand new role, and that is Ernest Richardson's sidekick on Symphonic Connections. Yes, so KVNO and the Omaha Symphony, longtime friends, best buddies. They have been broadcasting our music for decades. Now we are joining forces so that Ernest can answer your questions in person. Put him in the hot seat, please. As the Omaha Symphony performs. It's going to be so much fun, and we took the opportunity to talk with Jeff and ended up down a rabbit hole that I think you're going to enjoy. So, enjoy.
I got the story about the green corduroy pants.
Oh,
I don't know the story about
No.
the corduroy pants.
they were the coolest. I used to, being an artist and all that, and drawing with ink. When I worked at the newspaper, I ruined a lot of clothing with actual ink. And so I just thought, well, screw that, I'm going to just wear black, right? And then at some point I thought, no, this is boring. I want to mix it up. I want color. So I found these, they weren't neon green, but they were bright green, but not gaudy. They're really cool. These thin corduroy, really great pants, right?
Which no one has ever said about corduroy ever.
Ever. Because I know. And I was a husky kid, and so I was always, I remember husky corduroys. Anyway, so I found these really great pants, and I was walking around Dundee one day, not showing them off, but just walking around, pleased with myself, right? And some guy, I swear to God, he was one of these people in a giant pickup truck, and there's a puddle. I swear he went out of his way, and there was oil in there. And I can't tell you how much money I spent on trying to get. You couldn't. They don't sell them anymore. I had to throw them away. They were in a garbage bag. Just bye.
That was a story that started off so promising.
It was promising,
and I was waiting for you to say and I still have.
And I still have them, and here they are. Yeah. So
I've repurposed them. Well, that is a bummer. I've heard I've people's choice to wear color. I find fascinating. Our former personnel manager, Brad Courage, he's a trombonist, or former trombonist, I think. Do you ever become a former trombonist?
Yeah.
A recovering trombonist? He wanted to be positive that no one could yank him on stage in the case of a trombone emergency.
oh my God.
And so he was like, I will not be wearing black at services. He wore color every single service. So it was a foolproof. But at Christmas we discovered other people have extra spare black clothing.
Yes.
And they can. Okay, sorry. I know this is about you, but
No. This is great. I love it.
A couple Christmases ago, there was an ice storm,
Mm-hmm.
and 20% of the orchestra couldn't get back to the hall.
It was pretty close. I think it was 24%, because at 25 you kind of call whether or not the show keeps going.
Yeah.
24. That's a lot. That's
significant.
Orchestra.
Including Christy Zuniga.
I wish we were recording this, but yeah.
Well, we are. Don't worry.
Oh, are you?
This is the intro. This is clearly the intro.
That was sneaky.
I just started hitting record immediately.
I love it.
So
I was always wondering what that cutoff was. So it's 24%?
I don't remember what it was. I just remember the 24 because I was 75, 25, and 75% of an orchestra you feel is going to make a huge difference.
Yeah.
But I remember we were at 24%.
And Ern is
Yeah.
Ern's looking at his people who can't make it list. He's like, okay, well, if we have Maria, then we can do this and this and this. If we have this person, but we don't have this
Maria
person.
actually wasn't there.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah. No Prince of Blue.
We had so many like
wow.
He's like playing Tetris with the roster, right? Like, okay, we can still do these pieces. And I grew up playing piano.
Mm-hmm.
And so I therefore said the dumbest thing I've said in a long time, which is I could play the keyboard part. Not the part up front, not the really important part, but that Jay Goff is playing, because that would be impossible. It's like I could play the celeste part.
Well, yeah, that was the thing, the celeste part, because the celeste part was important, had some solo moments. And we said yes.
So we need the celeste. It's like, okay, I can probably dink out the celeste part. It's the most nervous I've ever been in my life. But the problem was I didn't have black clothing on. And so Jamie Pham, our artist manager, swaps her sweater with mine. And I'm looking at these dark jeans I have on. Okay, I don't have
passable.
black pants, but they're probably passable. And then Serena comes running into the bass room, holding out her black concert pants, like, I have pants. It's like, just one of these legs is the equivalent of both of Serena's legs. And it was the sweetest thing I've ever made. But it's just, I will not even get them on. They will just like pop. So I wore dark jeans
But you were sitting for who?
And then when we had to stand at the end, I just did that like half hover thing. But it was very generous of you to offer your pants in that moment.
That's very kind.
It's the sisterhood of the traveling pants. Those
jeans do not exist. Those jeans do not. Like, I've never met a pair of pants that fits 4 people perfectly and it accentuates all of their most...
The right parts. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are
you familiar with the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants? Mm-hmm. It's a great concept.
It is. I once played, I had a swing band for many years, Prairie Cats, and all original music, right? So if we had 8-piece, a lot of horns, and if we ran into a situation like that, which we did occasionally, storm or whatever, because my guys were spread out from Des Moines to Sioux City or whatever, Trainer, we were in real trouble because we had a book, but these were fairly hard charts to read. And so we couldn't just call up somebody and say, hey, we're playing all these old standards. Yeah. These were like very specific pieces. So we ran into it. There was one time at 8-piece band, we were down because of a blizzard. We were down to 3. I don't think we had a bassist. I think it was guitar, vocals, and then drums, and then maybe sax, and that was it. But, it was one of those weird, totally different from what we were doing compared to the symphony. Because people embraced it, though. It was like, oh, this is quirky. Yeah. This is different.
It's you know what it is? It's like, it is amazing how quickly someone will go from, oh, I need all of these specific things to make this work, to like, I don't care. We will do whatever it takes to get this done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if nobody showed up? We would there'd be just me and mine or something. I don't know. Maybe not.
I think that's fine. I think that would actually be a delight. And then you could play off as this ironic thing that you have chosen to do.
Yeah.
You've chosen to do a lot of things, Jeff Koterba.
I don't know if that's wise, but
your hat, looking through your resume.
Yeah.
It's like, usually when we start, I'm like, well, let's have this person introduce themselves. So now I want to know how you are going to introduce yourself.
Oh. Mm-hmm. That's a great question. I've actually been asked that ever. How I would answer that now is different than I would have 20 years ago. I would have said right off the bat, I'm an editorial cartoonist, or also the leader. Secondarily, I would have said the leader of the swing band. Nowadays, of course, I'm hosting Morning Classics at KVNO, but I'm also drawing cartoons, and I do a lot of speaking and filmmaking, things like that. In general, I guess I'm a creative, but honestly, I don't know if it's because of the rise of AI, and AI has a place as a tool, but I'm certainly concerned about its impact on the creative arts. And I'm not just saying this to be, I don't know, hokey or something, but I'm really embracing my humanity, or thinking about humanity and kindness, and just being a present person. And I did a reset on my meditation practice recently, and I'm just trying to be present. So I know that may sound hokey or silly or something, but that's how I think of myself now, that I have to really be present for others because I have been so busy, and I am busy doing so many different things. You know what I mean? But I also love to tease out all those little things like speaking French or playing music or drawing cartoons.
Or hosting a radio show at 4 a.m.
Yes, not getting sleep. Although I did have to take a little quick snooze before I came over because I get up at 3:30. Yeah, and actually I don't mind that because there's a real sacredness to the early morning hours, like to me, and it sort of feels safe, and people aren't like bombarding you with. No one is texting you at 3:30. Yeah. It's just me and my espresso and doing a little show prep, and which I've already actually done, but I'm kind of doing it again and then doing some other things. There's something really sacred about it. And then starting the show out when it's still dark out and watching the sun rise as I'm playing this music. It's amazing. It's magnificent.
Do you think 20 years ago or even further back, if you could have depicted what your life was going to look like, the 3:30 a.m.s of 2026, would this even be on your radar? No,
Dani. 3:30 a.m. was when I was getting home from a gig from my band and eating crappy pizza and watching bad TV. No, I wouldn't have expected that at all. Although I did, as a cartoonist, when I was at the Omaha World Herald, and even after that, there have been times when truly the cliche thing of getting an idea in the middle of the night, that's a real thing. And coming, waking up and making sure you write it down legibly so you can remember it. And actually learning from that experience, and that it's a whole other topic, but I have incorporated the little micro nap into my creative process throughout the day. So if I'm working on a cartoon idea and I have the problem and I need to solve it, I will take a 10-minute nap, and or the napuccinos. My son taught me the term. You drink a little coffee before
My brother does that.
Yeah.
I do not understand why it works, but it's apparently foolproof. Would you explain, please, for those who have not done the napuccino?
The napuccino, well, it takes, 15, 20 minutes maybe for the caffeine to kind of hit your system. You do the espresso or whatever your coffee of choice is, and then you take this nap, and by the time you wake up, you are not only revived from the nap, but also that caffeine kind of hitting your system. I don't always do the coffee with it, but sometimes. And before that, I've layered in, I don't know if you know, I have Tourette syndrome, which is insane when I tell people, I'm on a classical station. And so sometimes I get a little twitchy when I'm focusing in on the show. Not to worry, I'm not going to start, saying inappropriate things, but I don't have that kind of Tourette's. That's the Hollywood version. But I will give myself a set of, I'll say, I'm trying to solve this problem, whatever it is. Maybe it's coming up with a cartoon idea. Maybe it's I have learned something about a composer. I love telling stories that inspire others, that embrace obstacles and challenges that composers have had, musicians have had, conductors have had, and have overcome those things or have created in spite of those things, and maybe become better at what they do because of those things. So I will put whatever the problem of the day is or of the afternoon. Say, okay, here's the problem. What is that story I'm going to tell about that composer? What is that cartoon I'm going to draw? What is XYZ? And I swear to you, I'll take that nap, come out of it, and it's magical. It's like coming out of the dream state first thing in the morning when your dreams are speaking to you and ideas are coming.
Yeah. I have a variation of that. I go for a walk.
Yeah.
So it's like if I'm writing and I can't find my way out of this corner that I've written myself into, if I just go for a walk, by the time I'm done, I usually have figured out the escape route. And it's really crazy how it's like, okay, just for me, it's getting yourself out of the building. It's maybe it's just the 2 feet moving forward. Liz told me that once. Like there's something about the motion of your 2 feet moving perpetually that kind of frees things up. I can see where a nap would do the same thing.
Yeah. Are you doing anything else while you're walking? Are you listening to anything?
No.
Just total. I
have my Google Docs on my phone just in case I figure it out sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Well, a lot of composers took walks and,
Yes. And we actually, so I was deep diving Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker the other day because why not? And his handwritten score is on IMSLP. And so if you don't know what IMSLP is, it's this massive online database where if the work is in the public domain, then someone has uploaded the score or parts. It makes preparation for auditions and stuff like a dream. Because you can find all this beautifully engraved music. Sometimes they have the original score.
Wow.
So it's Tchaikovsky's handwritten.
Wow.
Like part of it's in Russian, part of it's in French. He scribbled out this one set of measures which I love Tchaikovsky's scribbles, right?
Yeah.
But it's literally, it's a score notebook. And there are so many sections where you could just imagine he just needed to pick it up, take it to wherever he was going, work on it there. He's got repeated material. He's not going to write that out. Come sopra, so it's just like, ugh, repeated. But it's also so dashed off that it does remind me of the notes that I scribbled down where it's like, I only have this. And
But you know what that means. You have your own kind of internal
and it's
language.
And then you look back at like hundreds of years. Like, we are the same. We just had different technology. And so the Google Docs is a neater version of the gibberish that's usually coming out.
Can I don't know about you, but like, you sounds like do you handwrite stuff too, or do you handwrite stuff?
Yes. Yeah. Handwriting is like, there's something I think about, I'm an English teacher, I say about like processing when you're writing, because you can only write at a certain speed, and your brain is actually editing and like helping you work through what you're trying to say. Because you can't write as fast as you're thinking. So you are like doing this kind of, and what comes out is usually already kind of a work through problem. Whereas if you type or, something like that, then it's not quite as coherent, surprisingly.
Wow.
At least that's what I was told. Another thing, like voice memo can be useful. I can imagine a lot of composers, like imagine if Mozart had voice memo abilities, if instead of dashing off handwritten score, if he could just all right, here's the melody of the aria, da 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 da, and he has the harmony in his mind, he just listens to his voice memo again, he goes, all right, like here's what it is.
That's
I don't know.
See, that's
love it.
I write our notes for the pre-concert talk by hand because of that exact reason. I know I will remember it if I write it by hand. That also explains why I write so many drafts when I'm writing for myself. It's like I can go through 5-6 drafts of something because the first version is always garbage, but at least it gets out.
But it's handwritten.
But no, it's typed. And so I wonder if if I attempted to handwrite it, would that shave? Yeah. It would increase the time it took to do it, but would it shave off the amount of revisions I ended up doing?
I think about that with like novelists who hundreds of years ago who hand wrote a novel.
Yeah. And Stephen King still writes by hand. It's crazy.
Yeah, because when I write something long form, I might handwrite sections, but I ultimately will type it out because I might copy save an entire section. I had not heard that thing about handwriting before. I love that. What I think about handwriting too is that when you're on a keyboard or typing on your phone, everything feels the same. Like your fingers can't feel the letter R. Your fingers, you might muscle memory know where the placement is. You're writing an R. Your hand it's tactile. You're feeling that R on the paper.
That's true. That makes me think though of Rachmaninoff. We did Rachmaninoff's third piano concerto this year, right?
I was here.
And he famously completed that in Russia, but didn't have time to practice it before he left for the States to premiere it and take it on tour. And so he was practicing on a dummy keyboard. So if you imagine like an unplugged Casio.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's, so it's.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a muscle memory thing, too.
That is the muscle memory thing.
Yeah, so like, yes, you like.
Yeah.
Just like having to hear it here
as
opposed to feeling it, and
Well, I have a follow-up with, in terms of cartooning, if you do that still, if you do that digitally, or if you still do that kind of, because my old preschool teachers, we still kind of kept in contact with, and what they've seen is the rise of children from pre-iPad to now post-iPad, and what coloring looks and feels like to these kids who grew up with iPad, where it's just like rather than the tactile, like you said, like you have to press, and if you press harder, the color is more, just all of these sorts of hand-eye coordination and feedback that you get. How do you feel, and how has your art changed if you did go into digital?
That's great. So in this teacher, they're now, it's post iPad, actual physical hand on paper crayons, or no?
Well, so it's just anecdotal from them having taught preschool for 30, 40 plus years at this point, and them seeing how kids are struggling now with even gripping a pencil.
Oh, I see. I gotcha.
And coloring when they're handed, because they're used to at home or wherever else having an iPad in front of them.
And more, well, side quick tangent, a lot more schools are curbing or banning the use of digital devices. And I heard an interview with this school kid in some school district somewhere in America where he was saying, I go to lunch now and it's amazing. We actually talk to each other. Wow, amazing. So what I'm going to say may shock you, though. I do now draw digitally. However, because for years I did do everything with pencil, pen, brushes. I loved happy accidents that happened. I loved getting ink and paint on my person, on my hands, and
the corduroys. Yes,
it's the corduroys. Ink on my face, and there's something very satisfying about that. And then at the end, you have this physical item. I'm still very much attracted to that. During the pandemic, I was still at the newspaper, at the Omaha World Herald, and that was at the beginning of the pandemic, and we had to be socially distant, and I had all of my stuff, my scanners, my printer, but also all my pens and brushes and my paper and the whole thing. And where I was living at the time, I didn't have the physical space for it. And my son said, Dad, you've had this iPad clicking dust for years. And I vowed to never, ever, 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 ever draw on glass. How awful. I tried it once, I hated it. But I decided one day to give it a shot, because this would allow me to draw from anywhere. And it actually changed the way I draw. It didn't change the way I draw. It's weird, because it has allowed me to draw, to be at my best self as an artist. And there's something about drawing the way I do it, at least, to actually, because I was actually trained in as a painter in abstract art. It allows me to think of my cartoons more like a painter with layers, where I actually didn't have that opportunity drawing pen on paper and then having to layer color on it, and that was it. However, I've never thought about this really this way before. I don't think I could do what I'm doing on the iPad right now as I do it, in allowing myself to still make mistakes, allowing myself to be loose and free with it, if I hadn't had literally decades drawing on a sheet of paper. And now it feels like a luxury to be able to do it this way. But I think I'm bringing all of that into it. If I were just starting out on the iPad, I don't think my work would look anything like it looks now. And I personally find a coldness in some digital art, not all. It's gotten better, but I love, and this applies to anything in the creative arts. Wabi-sabi, embracing those things that are imperfect, and the beauty in those things, whether that's in the drawing or in music or whatever, allowing it to breathe. And with AI and other things that strive for this false sense of perfection, it's awful. And it lacks warmth and humanity. And I would go rather see a painting that has imperfections and the perspective is off a little bit, but is it capturing something? I'd rather listen to music that, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I'm entirely with you. I despise a lot of AI for the reason that it takes away the thought. Like it's so easy to just ask ChatGPT any question you want and get what they are telling you is a correct answer.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. The joy is in the doing, right? The joy is in the research. The joy is in the rabbit holes. It is in the attempt. It is in the figure. Like especially when you see improvement. It's like and you did that. Like that was you. And yeah, it could still be terrible. Like, 7 drafts later, you're like, well, this is still hot garbage, but it's my
it's my garbage.
Even when we're looking at upcoming programs, we might find joy in every single piece. That doesn't mean that we love every single piece that we do or that that's our favorite, but there's an undeniable humanity to every single work on the program. Yeah. And that you can't take that away from it.
Yeah, can I ask either of you, like, has there ever been a performance that you came away thinking, have you ever felt that this was perfect? And is that even possible? Or is it like, that was the best we could do. That was not the best we could do, but that was the best version of that work. But there's always room for improvement, or do you allow for a little breathing room? Does sometimes the amazing soloists come out and it's like, where did that come from? But it was amazing. Or is that not? Because I think for me, at least, it used to be, I think maybe, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I used to think there's this formal score and it must always be performed that way. And the more I've learned about classical music, because I was only in the periphery, had, a cursory knowledge of classical music when I took this job at KVNO, and I've learned a lot more. And oh my gosh, how much a difference the soloist can make, the conductor, and I'm looking, we might have at KVNO, 8 different recordings of that particular work, and one is 2 minutes faster.
Yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I recently had this, I think I've always more or less felt this way, but a performance is almost more perfect with imperfections. Like it's kind of what makes it, because it shows that little bit of humanity where it just wouldn't be the same if it didn't have those imperfections. It wouldn't be as good. It wouldn't be as perfect without those imperfections almost.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of came watching a video of Andres Nelson's with Gewandhaus, I think it was in 2019, and it's a Tchaikovsky 5 recording. It's on YouTube to watch. And there's so much, there are a couple things here and just tiny little details. Maybe it wasn't perfectly together in this one moment. You could consider that a flaw, but it's looking at it as a whole. It's the process, the whole process of watching, enjoying it, that is, to me, so powerful. And I enjoyed it. Maybe I didn't even agree with how fast he maybe took a few things, or how he did a transition, or how much time. But I would describe that as perfect as it gets. And if there weren't those imperfections, or even if he took all the tempo exactly the way I think I would want it, maybe I would perceive it as maybe clinical or boring or something. It's those little things that make it exciting, make it that to me is what I'm at least what I would strive towards.
I want the best performances for me are the ones where I'm not in grocery list mode. Because if you're kind of checked out, you can be simultaneously playing, and in your head you're like, we need bananas, we need milk. Pat probably
now I need to make sure the next shift, I just this, okay, a little bit more.
Exactly. So the performances where where you are so invested, I can think of actually 2. And one was, I think it was Falstaff, that we did with Opera Omaha years ago. And on the second performance, like half of the cast had gotten hit with the flu.
Oh.
But it was a comedy.
Yeah.
And so you could tell that they were suffering, but all of them used this like horrendous hit to their vocal.
I think I was at that. I think I was there.
It was amazing.
I didn't know that.
It was amazing. There was like Falstaff himself was just like leaning in and letting his voice crack, like doing all sorts of stuff. But there was an alto who her voice must have been like an octave lower than usual because she was so sick, and she was like, boo, but like she was just doing these crazy, and it was amazing.
Wow.
And then weirdly, we did, I think it was Tchaikovsky 2 with Teddy Abrams, and the program was going phenomenally. And then right as there's this big gong hit before the final presto in the last movement, someone's cell phone went off.
No.
And I swear to God, Teddy held the orchestra until the cell phone stopped. So that meant the gong and the cell phone were dissipating at the same time. And it was just a question of what was going to stop first.
Wow.
So it was the longest gong hit I've ever, but we were all just like right there.
Wow.
And then we off to the races and finished it. And I just remember thinking that was like I hated that happened, but I also love that he was like, no, we're going to wait until it's done.
Yeah, that's amazing. I wonder who that person was, and were they fully aware of what they had done?
I don't think anybody in the hall, in the audience, is fully aware of how reciprocal the really good acoustics are in that hall. And I will tell you what.
Reciprocal. Oh. Because I can wait and hear a triangle as if it's right here.
And if you have a conversation with your seatmate, guess what? Paul Matthews in the back, who's hitting that triangle, can hear you just as well as you can hear him.
Good to know.
You better be saying something nice about that triangle.
That's exactly right. Okay.
But I'd like to point out, like, both of those perfect moments were created with imperfections.
Yes.
And it's kind of part of that I think is...
It's the live music aspect. And I frankly, I think that's also why I love when we get to play live recordings and when KVNO plays live recordings.
Yeah.
Because it is a reminder that these stellar performances were captured when there's no studio patching, anything could have gone.
Somebody's coughing.
How did you, so now we have to go back. We have to figure out how in the hell, Jeff Koterba, you ended up on KVNO with your cartooning and your swing band and your French. How did KVNO sneak in?
Yeah. I'm still not sure exactly how that happened, but I was at the newspaper for many years, and because of cuts, I was let go. I continued to keep drawing and still drawing now, of course, but Sherry Brownrigg, general manager of KVNO, reached out and said, hey, we were, during the height of, the pandemic, and said, have you thought about reconnecting with your Omaha fans in a different way? Have you ever thought about hosting a classical music show? And I said, I literally never thought about it. I was a fan of KVNO. I have always been a fan of KVNO. My predecessor, Otis 12, was a friend and mentor to me as a writer, and grew up hearing all the voices on KVNO, and I in some deep recess of my brain where other dreams live, astronaut, professional football player. I would be terrible at either of those, but those things exist back there on radio. But I never actually thought about it as in something I would actually pursue. And so we hopped on a Zoom call, and I remember the one thing she said is, I know you're a political cartoonist, but no politics. And I said, thank goodness. Great. A place that we could all... What a reprieve. A place where we used to come hang out and just play uplifting music and be positive. That sounds like magic. But I will tell you that the first time when I went in to sit with Otis 12, again during the pandemic, I think it was February, and we're masked up, and we're in the small studio, which you've seen, and he wasn't masked up because he's on the mic, but I was, but trying to keep my distance. And I'm wearing my glasses, have a mask on. Of course, my glasses are fogged. And he's over there moving the mouse around. Said, well, first of all, you move the mouse here and you do this. I can't see anything. And I'm there for, 20 minutes. He goes, what do you think? Yeah, great. I have no idea. And to me, it's all, nothing makes sense. There's buttons and knobs and screens. And it's like, this could be launching a rocket. I don't know what could happen. And regarding the French, I started learning French about 7 years ago because I go to these cartoon salons in France each year. I'd always had a dream of learning it. I thought I was incapable of learning another language. I lived in Austria for a couple of years and I learned a little bit of German and Italian, but not very good. And I had this false sense of language learning. And I thought that's for other people. I don't have that part of my brain. And then at some point, I made friends in France that I couldn't communicate with because this cartoon salon happens in cattle country in rural France, but it's the world's largest festival for like newspaper cartoonists. And so all the local people hang out. All the high school kids are like the wait staff and all that. And so there's not a lot of the locals, at least, the cartoonists that come in from all over, will speak in English probably or French or whatever, but the locals don't speak any English. And I'd made close friends with people I couldn't communicate with. And I thought, okay, come on, Jeff. So I thought, I'll learn. And so when I'm afraid, the truth is, I was so afraid of going on the air and taking that job at KVNO. I really had a lot of nerves, and some nerve I had, but I had a lot of stress, and I locked myself out of the studio on day one, and had to call Sherry early in the morning, 20 minutes to airtime, and I could see my wallet and my ID card in my wallet inside, but I had no way to get in, and Gabrielle Escalera miraculously showed up to let me in, but. I had some nerve-wracking moments at first, and I was really afraid to speak French, even like I'm bad French or whatever, with anyone. And so I started this French conversation group as a place. I went to Alliance Française meeting, which I would later join the board, but I went to some meetings and I thought everybody's like so elevated. I could never do that. I'll do my own. And so I would go to coffee shops and I would put a little thing on Facebook. Come practice French. And I'd go to coffee shops and I'd have my AirPods in with a notebook. And I wanted people to, I was just practicing out loud. I wasn't talking to anybody, but I wanted people to think that crazy guy's probably talking to somebody. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't. I was just talking to myself. Sure. Because that's what you do. And then to my shock, actual French speakers and some native speakers showed up. And they would be speaking to me in French. And I said, I literally don't know what you just told me. And I couldn't even say that in French. And they're like, why in the hell? Why are you doing this? And I said, because you're going to help me and then we're going to help other people. But ultimately, this is going to be a safe place of kindness and connection. And I told a story about this older couple in Limoges, France, Michelle and Irene. And I said, because I want to be able to talk with them. And the group has grown so largely. It's 700 people from Lincoln to Sioux City. It's the largest, as far as I can find out, it's the largest free weekly French meetups in America. Okay. So there's that many people and growing.
Do you think though that lesson translated over to what you do at KVNO? Because I sometimes 100%. Believe that classical music feels like a language that people are like, I'm on the outside, I don't speak this, I don't understand it. How do you translate that over?
I love that question. And yes, exactly connected, not just in terms of the language, because a lot of classical music is in French, or even to your point earlier about Tchaikovsky and maybe something was in French. Sure, composers' names and titles of various pieces. But the bigger point is it's embracing those fears in going in and sort of demystifying it, because I used to watch French films and other foreign films, but I would watch French films and I'd say, oh man, what elaborate poetry must be seen. No, I'm going to go do the laundry. I'm hungry, but it sounds so beautiful. And in the same way, sort of demystifying classical music and that it is accessible. You don't have to be an expert. Like, I'm not going to write a novel in French. That's probably not going to happen. I mean, maybe. But I just want to be able to communicate. And with classical music, whether I'm hosting the show and taking care of the listeners for those moments, minutes that they're with me, or, I want to take care, I want to provide a kind place where they can come and hang out. And it's not snooty. It's not, formal. It's, hey, come hang out, listen to great music. And I feel that way about the symphony. And honestly, since I took that job and learning French, great question, Danny. Like, it not that there isn't still a sense of mystery and magic that happens when you're performing, because it 100% is. But it's a reminder that these are human beings who I might run into, at the Omaha Film Festival, like we ran into there, or at the grocery store, or maybe, whatever. So it's all connected. And just in terms of thinking about language, and for me, language and traveling allows one to become maybe more empathetic, maybe a little bit more vulnerable. And there's empathy and vulnerability in music, and especially for me when I learn about heartbreaking stories of some of the composers. Like this morning, I played a piece by Lily Boulanger and the Joanne Folletta connection. They're talking about these original. I mean, she was working from photocopies of the originals and reconstructing.
And here's the thing: it's like we learn about Nadia Boulanger in school.
Mm-hmm.
Her name comes up all the time, and it's only when you go down the rabbit hole you realize, oh, she had this extraordinarily talented little sister who did not live very long.
Died at 24.
And you don't get that extra snapshot of their person. So okay, so then when you're doing these rabbit holes, you're doing these deep dives, and there are so many of them. There's so many, and you're demystifying. I'm super for both of you. One of the added layers that classical music has, that maybe, I mean, I know French is an absolutely beautiful language. That might be this, but classical music has the maestro.
Mm-hmm.
I have my maestro moment where it hit me, the full force of a music director, where you see someone and it's kind of like, it's Pablo Yarvi walking out with those 2 glasses of champagne, right? Like, when I was okay.
I don't know this story. Wait, what?
So I was in Cincinnati. I was playing subbing with the orchestra, and
Cincinnati's a great town.
It's a great.
I was just there a couple of years ago, and it was like, where have you been hiding, Cincinnati?
And their orchestra is phenomenal. It's so good. And I just have this core memory of, I'd never subbed with a professional orchestra before. And so the maestros I'd worked with were all at like festivals. And yes, they were very like lofty, upper echelon human beings.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd never like had a maestro moment where you're just struck by the full force of this person who may or may not be human, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Pablo Yarvi walks out of his dressing room and he has a young woman on either arm, and he's holding 2 glasses of champagne. And I had this moment of like, so that's a maestro. Classical music, that's what that looks like. And so classical music has that. Like there's the Bugs Bunny and like, oh, maestro.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a maestro moment, or do you get to work with people like Ernest or Thomas or Joanne, whoever walks into your studio? Are you able to remember that, again, like these are still just people?
Well, Bugs Bunny, by the way, that was really my entry point into a lot of classical music, honestly. I thought, oh, wow, Hollywood, they came up with some really great music.
Mm-hmm.
But I digress.
You know how much Dvorak is in Ren and Stimpy?
Really?
Yeah. Ren and Stimpy is full. I wish I did not know this. I wish I have never. I don't want to have Ren and Stimpy in my head, but I do, and there's lots of Dvorak in there. Anyways,
quick digression, if I may. So when Dvorak, I did learn something about my own family because of KVNO, and I was talking about Dvorak, and I mean the Ninth. It's one of my favorites in part because Neil Armstrong took it to the moon. Not the whole, didn't take an orchestra. It's a probably like whatever they had for a cassette or something. And then I actually had a chance to meet Neil Armstrong shortly before he died. And I wished I had known what I know now. And that is that my mom was listening. And, you know, as a kid, you hear the same stories a lot. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, there's a new story. Like, where have you been hiding that story, Mom? That my great-grandfather, when he was a little kid, lived in Spillville, Iowa, and had some encounter, met Dvorak briefly. And like, what? What are you telling me? Anyway. Maestro moments. I will tell you, Joanne Folletta came in a little while back, and I am not normally starstruck. And I actually was telling somebody this recently. I've been fortunate enough to meet some, like, my heroes, Pixar directors, and it's awesome. But I will say, like, there have been other times I'm like, yeah, it's cool meeting this person. Joanne Folletta came in. It was over. I was just like, I've watched her conduct. Was the Rachmaninoff in Tchaikovsky? Like, did she even have a score? Was she like by memory? Like, yeah. But, and then a few years ago, I think it was Pines of Rome. And I was up close and I'm like, oh. Yeah. So but I'd never met her. And then there she is. And I was starstruck. I really was. And I could just she's so humble and so kind.
Yeah. Upper echelon human.
Yeah. And I love that she also plays, guitar and I chatted with her once before, because she also plays mandolin as I do. Mm-hmm. Anyway, probably not going to.
You also just gloss over that. You also play mandolin?
Yeah, that's kind of like my main mandolin and bouzouki, but So anyway.
What?
No.
What?
By the way, I have these Invisalign brackets, and every once in a while, I feel like a dog with like a weird tooth. Every once in a while, my lip gets. So I had to tell my orthodontist. He's like, "You're not wearing your Invisalign." I know, because I don't want to say Frederick Philpan, but anyway.
So you play mandolin? Okay.
No.
Wow. So you have that? Okay. So you were able to bond with Joanne Folletta over mandolin.
Yeah, guitar, mandolin. Yeah.
So she instantly became human. In that moment.
Yes, 100%.
Did you?
But elevated human, it's Joanne Folletta. Yeah.
But she has that gift too of like, she's doing what you're doing just from the podium, and what I think most conductors hope to do, right? Like where they are taking something that could be there. Actually, I want to ask you this: how do you? As a conductor, how do you straddle the line between this is a work of art that we must that we are here in service of, but also want to make it accessible and understandable and this is not above you, this is for you, but it is still
for the audience?
Yeah.
I mean, that's where all the things I think everyone is doing is kind of, I don't know if there's necessarily a way to rewrite the playbook, so to speak, all the stories you tell on radio, anything to humanize the piece or the people behind the piece, the pre-concert talks that we do, anything to kind of, connect, make the piece, elements of the piece or the person behind the piece relevant, and relatable so that people can connect to it. I think it's the only way to do it slowly. And then of course, from building that from the ground up, I think is really important. From how can really young kids connect to classical music, also through stories. We do a lot of, in our education shows, a lot of movement so that they can connect bodily to the music. Just finding different ways to connect, because I think that love of music and appreciation starts from that age, and you want to be able to be, to the point where, okay, then they play recorder with, so now all of a sudden we are participating in the music making, things like that, and then slowly building up to, if you're playing in a youth orchestra, how can we connect your youthful experience to then this classical music that you're playing.
And then even then it's interesting because then we spend all these years with these kids, and they are a part of the experience. Their movement, they're playing, they're recorded, they're side by side. It's all like you make this concert what it is. It is not just us playing for you. And then we become, we do our adults and we do our main stage stuff. And I would like to think it is sharing as opposed to just like sit and take it. But it's a performance that is about two parties understanding the assignment. Our assignment is to do our best and give the music the service that it deserves, and then in turn the audience's pact is that they will receive what we're able to give, right?
I think it's how we interact with music, right? Kids interact with the world in a much more tactile way as they're trying to make sense of it, and as we get older, we're not doing it. It's more happening internally in our minds. But if you look at what a pops concert feels like, a pops concert with no audience, which is usually how rehearsals go, feels so different than when there is the exchange of energy.
Wow.
And in that way, that participation, right, just the showing of appreciation, all that, rather than mentally or internally processing your own thoughts and feelings about what we're giving, what we're exchanging, which then happens at the very end with applause or of some kind, or hopefully discussion with the people that you had, or things like that. It's more of like a real-time feedback into pops where you feel free to make sound, or in a jazz concert, someone plays something great and you just have this expression of, yes, wow, great.
Wow.
Things like that. I don't know.
You're absolutely right. And so then how do you handle as a radio host? Because how do you handle trying to feel?
That's a great point too.
Yeah.
Because I love your description of I was thinking about that, like a pop. Well, yes, especially for something like a pops concert, because I can see faces of the audience members or kids even, and like you want them to be reactive.
We're playing Star Wars tonight. They better cheer when that Death Star blows up. Like,
it makes such a difference though when you're looking out and you see the engagement and you have that that energy exchange. How do you feel that energy?
Yeah. Hey, real quick, I once saw West End. It's the only time I've ever been there for a performance. And the only ticket I could get was Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I didn't care. It was like a matinee. But I was like blown away. Here we are in the West End, the equivalent of Broadway. And they're like selling treats and kids are in the aisles screaming and cheering. And it was like, this is amazing. I wanted to do it. And I think sometimes as an adult, like even with cartooning, most kids draw that tactile thing. And at some point, you stop doing it, you can't be an artist, it's not a way to make a living, or it just isn't, that's for kids or whatever. And that's that childlike thing that, I like to think of myself that way. And maybe the audience does, I don't know. Like I try to bring a little bit, to your point, to your question, I try to bring a little bit of that to the show, that childlike wonder. I don't know how the audience is responding. I don't know if, sometimes I don't even know if they're listening, and it is a weird shift from playing live in a swing band where you do get that immediate reaction. You can see faces, you can see people dancing and clapping. Having said that, I think my training as a newspaper cartoonist sort of prepared me for the radio thing, because you are drawing in isolation, and you finish the cartoon, there's no one applauding.
Sounds like a pianist.
It's also like you don't. It's hard to know how your art is being received. I'm guessing when you're sending a cartoon out into the world, you maybe are not getting that immediate feedback response of how do people find your art, anything.
Right. And so even if they're reading it in a newspaper or seeing it online or whatever, the reaction is delayed, and then it's filtered through whatever medium, sometimes someone will tell me in person or in an email or on social or whatever, and that's all well and good, but I'm not here is today's cartoon, and then I get applause. So I think in a way, drawing the cartoon sort of helped me with the radio show, and sort of in imagining, and it's true what they say, imagine that one listener, and I do, and that one listener may even change during the day. Like at 6 o'clock, I jokingly say, well, not jokingly, I say it, you're part of the Early Risers Club, and I imagine someone waking up, having his or her coffee, and gazing out the window and looking at the same sky. I will try to paint a little picture of maybe what I'm seeing, and hopefully connecting in that way. However, at some point you realize, I don't know if is anybody listening, and maybe they are, but then like it's weird, but I'll also have a little conversation with myself where I might unintentionally set up, not a joke, but I will say something that I will then react to my own comment in an authentic way, I like to think, not to be silly or goofy, but I'm having a conversation with myself where I'm like exploring a particular topic or issue out loud to a point.
Do it all the time.
Okay. And so honestly, it may be what I'm thinking, but I'm just kind of saying it and assuming, hoping that maybe this quirky little brain pathway is of interest to someone. And if not, there's great music. So,
I mean, I feel like it's not quite the same experience because you truly don't have, like, you are speaking out into a void type of idea. I will say sometimes as a conductor, we have the similar feelings where it's kind of on you to constantly bring that energy out, no matter how many people are listening, no matter what time of day it is, no matter what's going on in any way. It's your responsibility to bring that energy as if you had an audience that was totally enraptured by what you're saying. But it's that same thing. Sometimes you're not sure if that room of kids is really engaging with anything that you're saying, but it's on you to bring that energy out no matter what. Sometimes you're in front of an orchestra that's had a really long week of many, many services, and it's still on you to, bring that energy out and have, and express your love for music, whatever else is going on.
So this is maybe kind of a weird sci-fi kind of question, but if in a different parallel universe, there were still symphonies, but that concept of an audience didn't exist. Like it was just this sci-fi
you
world.
Mean COVID?
Milton. Well, so there's Milton Babbitt who said, "Who cares if you listen?" I think.
Okay.
I remember that. So I was like, that was the idea of. He had a real attitude. But his whole thing was new music is going to exist whether or not you want it, and we will continue to create it. But COVID was
the age of performing in spaces in a concert performance setting with no one on out into a void, and it's like having to ask everyone in the room to bring that same level without that feedback into an empty hall, knowing it was being recorded and then broadcast, like the Christmas show, right? And all of the COVID things,
and how we all acted prior to even being able to do that. Like I think I lasted all of 12 hours before I was like, okay, who wants to do a Bach project? Who wants recording stuff out of our homes? Everybody learned how to edit, record, get on Zoom, like whatever we
were you able to record with others? Because I cannot wrap my brain around that, because the time, the clock, whatever,
we
like things
how
are.
to do it.
But how did you figure out how to get on?
So actually,
you know what I'm asking, right? Like the timing of it.
So we would stitch stuff together. So we did this second movement of the Goetze piano quintet, and I had our pianist record first, and then I recorded over her, and then our violinist recorded, and then I sent it to our cellos and violas. And like, because I don't think it's possible. It was not possible for me to do it where all of us were on Zoom at the same time and recording that way, but we could layer on top. How comforting it was? I still cry when I look at that video, because I see our friend Holly on violin, and she's got, we were talking about, she's got this smile on her face as she starts recording, as if she's just so delighted to be there. And it's like, oh, that is the face I need to see, because even though we're all recording alone, it's as if she's there. And so that's what I imagine the people who are up with you and listening. So maybe they're alone with their cup of coffee or with their beverage of choice and watching the sun come up, but you're there.
Yeah.
How will you then, or how are you looking forward to then with Earn in just like a couple weeks, being able to kind of like thread all the needles of your life together?
But also perform now. This is radio, but to a real audience that you are seeing right in front of you.
No pressure.
I don't know.
What are you most looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to, Ernest had said in his interview with Sherry that I think he called me his sidekick. And I thought, that is, to be the maestro's sidekick, that is going to the top of my bio.
Oh, what do you wear?
Really?
What do you wear as the maestro's sidekick, actually?
I feel like the more of a, not a persona, but like I love what, like something that's distinctive.
So not formal.
A beret would be
a beret, okay.
Well, you could be formal and distinctive.
True, that's
Those
true.
Adidas with a traditional tuxedo.
And then a beret.
And a beret.
And it should be red. As clashing as possible with the rest of your outfit.
We want people to think you're colorblind.
But you know what? People are going to remember you. People will remember you.
That colorblind cartoonist is fabulous.
Wow. Well, that's I will take that. The red beret, I'm going to ponder that one. The yellow shoes that's doable. I'm just looking forward to, it's not it's Ernest's program and the Symphonies program and the listeners program who came up, are coming up with questions. I'm excited. I kind of, it's one of these things where I'm like, I can't believe I get to be part of this, honestly. And it just feels magical to me. There's a rough outline, but I honestly don't know exactly how this is going to go, but I kind of love that. I actually don't know Ernest that well, but I have a sense that organically it's going to work out great. And that's what I'm banking on.
That's what sidekicks do. They make
the sidekick. That's right. It sounds like the start of a kind of a bad joke, a conductor and a cartoonist walking
change a light
to
bulb.
Change a light bulb. Change a lot. We're going to change lives. No, I'm excited, and you're going to be part of it beforehand. I mean, I love this whole idea of like just kind of hanging out, connecting with each other, and then I would do a little creativity thing afterwards.
Interestingly, it sounds like we are accidentally doing through KVNO, or KVNO is doing what you did with amateur French speakers in the area, where it's just like, well, why don't we all just come together and see what happens?
Yeah.
Is there...
Exactly.
Is there like, if you were going to, Jeff, we could talk to you for like 4 more hours, I'm positive. And
but I think that speaks to what we can look forward to with this gathering, where this has been such a great and lovely conversation. Yeah. I think anyone who comes to Symphonic Connections is going to make a really, really lovely connection.
If you could program though, like if you could like put one piece on that stage, and there were no
restrictions.
Don't do that to me.
Yes,
my God.
You get one.
I get one.
No budget restrictions, no people restrictions, no space restrictions, anything.
The space-time continuum will wrinkle however you need
whatever is long piece.
That is not fair, because I do this a lot on the show. I'll say, I don't know about you, but that may be my favorite piece. And then like 2 hours, like, oh no, wait a minute, that's my favorite piece.
Oh, that makes me feel better actually, because
we are all the same.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I always think that we've played our favorite program of the year, and then we get to the next one, like, never mind.
Well, it's like people ask me if I have a favorite cartoon. I've drawn like, probably 20,000 cartoons, and they're like all my
children.
All my children. And some of them are like, yeah, okay, there's the one over there. It's okay. But I still love them, but I kind of remember them all. And like, I remember like maybe even like ones from years ago, like, oh yeah, I remember that thing that was going on in my life at that time. Wow. That's how I like archive it in my head. Today I mentioned Pines of Rome earlier, but Bolero, and I know how there are some people who are like, didn't love Bolero, but it's so inventive. And especially if you know some of the backstory, possibly inspired by a visit to, car manufacturing plant in Detroit, maybe. And then he wanted to perform it out in front of a factory. Like to me, context is so important. Yeah. And I love that hypnotic sound but my gosh, Dvorak 9, that's got to be that has to be right up there. But this is so not fair.
Yeah. I have a more unfair question for you.
Oh no.
We ask this to everybody.
Okay.
We need to have you back on because we need to continue this. This could have gone for 4 more hours.
What if the next time I'm just like, I got nothing.
You got nothing. No stories. We buried them with a corduroy pants. I'm going to find a photo of what they look like. They're not made anymore, but they were just the nicest. Anyway, please. Mm-hmm. Yes. You have 30 minutes on stage.
Okay.
You can try anything you want, any instrument, whatever.
Oh. And there are conducting. You can try.
And there's no consequences.
Playing a laptop.
Oh. I would say conducting.
Yeah?
Yeah. But boy, that's...
Can I also tell you though, I find this fascinating. We've had now multiple conductors who were pianists tell us that they decided they probably weren't going to be very successful pianists because the idea of sitting quietly in a room, and I guess not quietly, but sitting in a room by themselves and practicing for 8 to 12 hours a day was not particularly inviting. And then as a cartoonist, I imagine you spend a lot of time sitting quietly in a room practicing. And now as the idea of like, you know what I want to do? I want to do more sitting quietly in a room and score studied, hear everything up here.
But I think it's that, and I'm totally ignorant when it comes to, I'm speaking totally, I feel embarrassed to even say that, but it's like, it appears to me, like looking at scores, which is like I don't even understand it. It's like, it is like another language. It's like multi-level chess, and not only understanding the score as you see it, but understanding it in the context of what the composer intended. If it's an older piece, they're not still alive, you can't talk to them. And then understanding your own orchestra and what they're capable of, and what the audience, and having to keep all that in mind, but that what you personally love and what you're reacting to, and maybe the first time you heard that piece and how you reacted to it, all of that just like, it makes me want to like cry just thinking about it. And when I watch someone conduct, I think about all those things that I'm like, how are they holding all of this together?
Past, present, and future.
It's magic. It is. It's magic. It's magic. And of course, the musicians, the top, whatever, wearing their nice matching black jeans.
Hard to be colorblind when you have to wear all black for a living. Jeff, that's great. And that's absolutely true. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm honored, really. Thank you. It was delightful. Thank you.
We'll do this again, and you can just sit.
My dad once actually played percussion with the symphony back, because he was actually a big band drummer. But one of those stories, like, heard all the stories about being on the road with all these famous musicians, and then, I played with the symphony a few times. Like, Dad, more of that. Okay.